Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nathan Ibanez, bringing you back here towards the end of our semester. I want to thank all of you for watching my videos consistently and being patient with me while I've been trying my best to improve the way I speak and present. So yeah, going off from that, I'm going to start presenting on designing presentation aids and using presentation software and how we can do those the best. So, the main components when we're talking about designing presentation aids are going to be 5 things. These 5 things are going to be keeping the design simple, using design elements consistently, selecting the appropriate typeface styles of fonts, and using color carefully. So I'm going to go over the first one with you, keeping the design simple. What does that mean? Well, keeping the design simple simply means making sure that all of your information isn't up on the page. It's mostly coming from you. Now, when we do this, the reason we're doing it is because if you have too much information up on the screen, then quite simply your audience is going to be split between you and the screen. Along with that, if you have too much info on the screen, there's a good chance that you're not prepared for your presentation. If you are constantly looking back between the screen and your audience, it's going to show that you're not prepared, and in result, it's going to make you lose credibility because it's going to look like you don't know what you're talking about to your audience. So how can we combat this? How do we keep our design simple? Well, we can use this rule called the 6x6 rule, which says that we use no more than 6 words in a line and 6 lines on one slide. The reason for this is because, again, we want to keep the audience's attention on us. The presentation software is simply an aid. It is not the actual presentation. We are the presenter. And so that's why we want to follow the 6x6 rule. Next, using design elements consistently. So again, this kind of follows the same guidelines. You want to use design elements consistently in order to keep the audience's attention on you. If you're constantly changing styles, font sizes, colors, you're going to be having a disconnect between the audience's attention on yourself and the presentation aid. So you want to apply the same design decisions that you make for one presentation aid to all of the presentation aids. You want to have a uniformity in, again, order to keep the attention of the audience mainly on yourself and not on the presentation software as it keeps changing and evolving. Next, we're going to want to select appropriate typeface styles and fonts. You want to use a simple, legible typeface that isn't distracting, and you want to make sure it's appropriate to the event that you're presenting for. For example, you wouldn't use Comical Sans in front of CEOs. And again, remember that the main goal here is to keep the audience interested. That's one of the golden rules. Keep the audience interested. Make sure that the presentation software isn't the presentation, it's simply an aid. You are the presentation. And last but not least, we want to use color carefully. So, color affects legibility and it can also affect the mood conveyed. So you got to carefully use the color depending on how you want your message to come across. Colors can evoke certain distinction associations among people, so you want to avoid conveying an unintended meaning or mood. So, just be careful when you're selecting colors. Be aware of the typeface, style, and font that you're going to be choosing. Use a consistent design outline, or I guess it's a consistent design. And you want to keep the design simple. So again, one more time for everybody. Keep the design simple. Use design elements consistently. Select the appropriate typeface style and fonts depending on what you're doing with your presentation. And make sure to use color carefully. Next, using presentation software. So, again, you want to remember when using presentation software, it is not the presentation itself. It's simply an aid. So, you want to first develop a plan. Next, you want to make sure there's no technical glitches. And as I said in the beginning, give a speech, not a slideshow. And last but not least, you want to find the right media for your presentation. And when finding the right media, make sure you don't have any copyrights on that. You don't want to face any lawsuits afterwards. Okay, so now to go over those components more in depth. First, develop a plan. The reason you want to develop a plan is because you're creating an outline to help you speak when you're presenting. By creating an outline, this is going to allow you to have, a plan for what you want to speak about. If you don't develop an outline, you're most likely going to be more garbled, and it's going to be a lot harder to organize your thoughts. So develop a plan before you do a speech. Next, you want to avoid technical glitches. And the way you do that is simply by double checking everything before you do your speech. You want to make sure that your speech software, whether it be Prezi, Microsoft PowerPoint, or something else, work on the computer that you're planning on presenting on. And you want to double check everything else. You just want to have a backup of your presentation saved somewhere, perhaps a USB. And you want to make sure that you're comfortable with the layout and functioning your presentation so that it runs smoothly. You don't want to barely figure out how to use the remote while you're up there presenting. You want to know how to work everything. So that's what I mean when I say avoid technical glitches. Again, give a speech, not a slideshow. Nobody wants to watch somebody just read the lines off of the PowerPoint. We want to watch you present. And in order to do that, you have to know what you're talking about. Through practicing beforehand, maintaining good eye contact, and simply knowing the ideas you're actually talking about, you're going to find that it's a lot easier to present rather than just doing it off the top of your head. So again, give a speech, not a slideshow. You want to find the correct media for presentations. So you want to use websites, GIFs, videos, whatever you may use. Just make sure that you use the right links, the right sites, in order for your media to actually work when you're presenting. You don't want to have another malfunction while up on stage. And finally, you want to avoid copyright infringement. Just when using a GIF, video, or other form of media, make sure to cite who that form of media came from. Copyright infringement is really easy to avoid, and it's not one of those main ones you have to remember when presenting, but it's still really important. So please, avoid copyright infringement. In conclusion, you want to develop a plan, double check everything to avoid any technical errors last minute, give a speech, not a slideshow. The audience is there for you in your presentation, not the slideshow. And last but not least, you want to find the right media for your presentation and make sure to avoid copyright infringement while doing so. Thank you for watching my speech. My name is Nathan Ibanez, and I hope you have a great day.